This is Keith Fraser for Seconds Out TV. I'm here with Face of Boxing, or Face of Sky Sports, Sky Sports Boxing, I should say, the legendary Johnny Nelson. Johnny, good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you. Nice to see you. It's what a turnout. What a turnout for this second Haye Bellew fight. It's intriguing to say the least.
Well, I want to ask you, and I've spoken to Adam Smith, I've spoken to David Haye so far. I think there are two variables that weren't in the first fight which make this such an interesting matchup because they weren't there in the first. One, I don't believe Tony Bellew has seen David Haye's real punching power because of the fact that he had an injured right Achilles, and therefore, although you're the technical man, he wasn't able to perhaps leverage himself as well into the punch as he would. And secondly, a wounded animal is a dangerous animal. And I think you can see on stage that David Haye was livid at losing that fight, and I just think he's going to be so hungry, so prepared as ever. And I think those two variables make the fight particularly interesting. What is your take on the things I've said and other things?
Okay, I think with the first fight, regardless of how the fight turned out, Tony Bellew got it spot on. He said, David Haye, your body will not hold up. The David Haye of 6, 7 years ago, I would never have got in the ring with because he'd have beat me. This is what Tony said before the last fight. But he saw something we didn't see, where he said David Haye's hustling us. David Haye can't do what he used to do. David Haye is not the fighter he was, and his body will not hold up. This is what Tony said before the fight, and we thought he was crazy. He was spot on down to a T. So therefore now, you look at David Haye's career over the last 7 years, and that was his last best performance was against Audley Harrison. You look at you look at his last few opponents, as you think he won, but the performances weren't outstanding. He did just enough. He thought, I don't have to kill myself for this one here, get the win. Maybe when he got in with Tony Bellew the last fight, he had that same attitude. So now what David has to do is he has to turn back time. David has to produce a 7-year best in regards to his performance. Now what he did the last time was he got suckered in. And you could see he was getting suckered in there again today. Tony's great at winding you up. Tony's great at making you hate him. Tony's great at making you want to smash him. And so when David got in the ring last time, David was big. He was flat-footed. Every punch he threw, he was trying to knock Tony out with. He gassed himself out. So as the rounds went on, even before the injury, David was throwing the shots, just skimming, just missing, and the shots were there. But he was just missing. This is what Tony did before the injury. The injury came about, as Tony predicted, your body will not hold up because you're going to have to dig in deep to catch me, to hurt me.
And he did dig in deep, to be fair.
Yeah, he dug in deep. And the cojones that he showed, the fight that he showed with one leg, I can't think of any fighter that has turned night to day in a heartbeat. Last time he got criticised for his toe gate in the Klitschko fight. You've got to praise him for what he did in that fight there. But Tony got it spot on right. Now what David has to do, David has to try his hardest to take emotion out of it, like Carl Froch did with George Groves the second fight. Carl actually got himself hypnotised just to think, you know what, I'm indifferent to you. This is what I've got to do. David has to become indifferent. David has to go in, get in the ring. You saw him today. He looks slim. He looks like when it comes to fight night, he needs to be slim on his toes. He doesn't need to go for the knockout. He needs to go to box Tony. If he goes to box Tony, therefore we'll get a little bit of that 7-year best. If he goes to get in a tear with Tony, his body will not hold up again. Now, to me, I'm telling you now, I'm actually surprised that this fight is taking place so early. It's 7 months. Most footballers are a year out with an injury like what David had. He still looks like he's still got a little bit of a limp. Personally, I think. David has to think, I've got to box him. He has to talk Tony to thinking, I want to fight. Make Tony wait for the onslaught, box, win every round by boxing. If he goes for the knockout, he ain't going for the knockout. He's going to box him. If he wins boringly, but he needs to get the win to redeem himself. Because if he loses, his career's over.
So it is going to be, you recognise it's going to be a very different fight. But it's interesting, speaking to you, speaking to Adam Smith, speaking to others, the bookies have got David Haye a slight favourite, and yet the pundits seem to kind of call it the other way, which is weird.
The bookies are looking at it because basically the last fight, if it wasn't for the injury, David Haye would have won. So the bookies are basically saying as long as he doesn't get injured, he wins. But you've got to say to the bookies, why wouldn't he get injured? Why wouldn't it happen again? Why would his body hold up after such a bad injury in the first place? How do you think this is going to go about? Now, Tony can actually box. He's a good boxer. Tony's actually used to boxing heavyweights, so his punch resistance is better. He's got good hand speed. He now doesn't think he can beat David Haye. Now he
did get stopped as a light heavyweight.
Yeah, but at heavyweight, but light heavyweight, you've got to get yourself down to 12.6. Tony's like 16 stone plus. It makes all the difference. Now Tony knows he can beat David, regardless. He knows David Haye's body, if he's pushed to the limits, it's going to break. This is what he knows. So when you go in the ring, you're a more confident fighter when you know what you're capable of doing, not what you think you're capable of doing. So that's why on Tony's side, he knows what he's capable of doing, how far he knows he can take a shot from David. He knows that he can make David have to work for the win. David knows that Tony is not as vulnerable around the chin at this weight. He knows he's got to be smart in regards to this fight, how he plays this fight. And so that's why both fighters have more knowledge of each other. And that's why it'll be more cat and mouse on David's part. But for Tony, each time you see them meet, Tony's going to press the button to wind David up, to get David to the point where he has no respect for him again. And Tony's very good at doing that. Tony talked about David's performance as an amateur, as a professional, showed that he studied him, he idolised him one bit. David needs to be worried about that, because as a champion, or if you're a fighter in a position, especially when you become champion, what happens is fighters are looking at you, studying you, that you don't even know about. They know every habit you've got, every level you've got in a fight, and that's what Tony did with David. And so David's got to think, right, I've got to change something, or try and revert back to old.
Moving away from that fight, obviously you're a Sheffield man, and last week or 2 weeks ago we saw Billy Joe Saunders fight under Dominic Ingle, the son of your former trainer, Brendan. How do you see the middleweight scene? Because we haven't seen your opinion on the Golovkin fight and a Billy Joe Saunders. How do you see the middleweight seat coming up? Does Billy Joe get into that frame now? And do you think it was a good option for him to go and be trained by Dominic?
Yeah, but definitely. I think Dominic's the kind of trainer that gets Billy Joe and the gym. And Billy Joe gets the gym. He gets that lifestyle. He gets that understanding. I think this is the first. You just looked at Billy getting in the ring. You thought, wow, he's in brilliant condition. Billy was more than happy to play the game. In regards to that gym, it's a family affair. There's competition within the gym. You want to prove that you're the best. You want to perform outstandingly. I think Billy's last fight wasn't great, but he did enough to win. To keep himself in the mix. I think domestically, there are fights domestically where Billy Joe technically is a very good fighter, but he's never shone. He's never really shone. You think he can box, but we've not seen a fight where we think, wow. Him and Eubank Jr., that could happen again, but we don't know if it ever would happen again, because what could Eubank Jr. do differently? Billy Joe's in a position where it's easy to ignore him, but Billy Joe can box. He's a better boxer than he is a fighter. And they're the kind of guys you need to be careful of, because it's the sweet science of boxing.
He'll give any of those top guys a trouble, don't you think so?
He'll give any of them trouble, especially if he gets, especially when he's in good condition, when he grows in confidence as the performances go on. That's what he's got to do.
And also another Sheffield man, we haven't seen him in the ring, of course, since he broke his eye socket again, or the other one, is Kell Brook. And I know you speak highly of him, as you would. What's going on with him? Is he going to resurrect his career, do you think? Or do you think that maybe he's going to come to a close at some stage soon?
My worry is this. Kell Brook's other eye socket went. So in his head he said he could just remember the doctor saying you could lose your eyesight. So this is an issue here. So when you get in the ring and you're getting hit in the eye again, and if that worry's there, if you can't block that out of your head, it's always going to be there. So this is an issue that Kell has to deal with. Kell can fight. He's not a welterweight. He's a light middleweight, and so he's got to step up. If he didn't step up, the same thing's going to happen. He's grown out of welterweight. It's the first time he saw Kell bullied around the ring halfway through a fight. So the first half of the fight he was strong, he was on it. Second half of the fight, he was pushed back because physically he's no longer welterweight. He has to accept that. To me, Kell's fight, the motivating fight for Kell, to get him over any issue, is with Amir Khan. And it's the same for Amir Khan. They both need each other if they want to do something substantial with their career. And they want to rejuvenate. They want to have that fight that makes them train really hard and turn back time. I think that's the only fight out there for Kell. I think that's the only fight out there for Amir Khan.
Is it going to happen?
It should happen, but this is down to... It's always been down to Amir Khan. It's always been down to him, and he either thinks, do I go for pride and not take the fight, or do I prove to everybody that I can pull this off?
Because Amir Khan says, he thinks that Kilbrook will be easy, or so he says. But of course, the reality is he hasn't taken the fight. He wanted, from what I understand, a 70% split of the purse. Maybe he doesn't want it.
He doesn't want it. Listen, if I don't want something, I'm going to price myself out of it. It's easy for me to say that than say I don't want the fight. This is all down to Amir Khan not wanting to fight. This isn't down to Kel. Let's not kid ourselves, and let's be straight with Amir Khan. You're talking rubbish, and I like Amir Khan. I rate Amir Khan, but it's rubbish. This fight hasn't happened because Amir Khan doesn't want the fight. It's that simple, and that's what we need to all not pussyfoot around. That's how we need to drop it. To say, look,
we all want to see it.
We all want to see it, but is Amir Khan willing to put it on the line and risk bragging rights? I don't think he is.
Well, it's great talking to you as always, Johnny. Very nice to see you. Hope to do this again soon.